doing, everybody? I'm back with another badass video. It's a team talk. It's brought to you by Jackson Perry. He sponsored this video today, just because it's a Jackson Perry day today. He's tired. He slept. There you go. He was tired at lunch, but now he got his 20-second nap in and he's ready to go again. So that's what we're doing. But we have a team talk today, and you know what it's about? It's about the death of your outboard. The death of your outboard. What kills your outboard? There's a couple variables that go to this, but before we do anything, make sure you have subscribed. It is right down here. Ding! Jordan's got one of these little flashy things going on. It's right down here. Make sure you hit that button, subscribe up. Make sure you share the hell out of this video. All right, share. There's a lot of people that ask this question. It is probably the top 5 things that are emailed to me, what kills my outboard. And so we're doing it for you right now. It's Team Talk, and here we go. So it is super simple. It is super simple. What we see up here, the #1 killer to outboards is fuel. And it's not that it's I wouldn't say the quality of fuel. It could be quality of fuel, but it is literally fuel that has sat for quite some time, I would say, that has gone a little jelly or a little stagnant, a little yucky. You're gonna get that if you're just basically in your injectors and your carburetors. We see it more in injected motors than anything else. We see basically lean down detonations, and we see that type of thing. How to prevent it? That's gonna be a question, right, Jordan? How to prevent it? You can run additives. I would recommend additives. I would not recommend seafoam, but I would recommend additives like a Startron additive, maybe a Stabil additive, a quick clean for mercury style additive, those type of additives that you should be running and utilizing as much as you possibly can. We talked about this beforehand, that the guys that maintain their equipment, when I say maintain their equipment, is they're running additives, they're bringing them in the fall or in the spring or both, and they're saying go through my engine, check my filters, change my spark plugs, make everything work, and they're spending $200 to $500-$600 on their equipment. They're getting longevity out of their equipment. They're not letting them sit around. If they do let them sit around, they call, they talk, they want to know what's going on. How do I make it sit up? I've got to set it up for 6 months. You know, they just don't throw it in the barn or in the shed or in the garage and let it sit and then take it out and just jack it, get on it and get on plane and go wide open. And then 150 yards down the river or lake, you're laid down. So maintenance is a huge issue. So like I said, additives, maintenance. Basically, people talk to a lot about the new gas with the ethanol. They talk about what should I be running? Should I be running this ethanol? Should I be running this octane, this whatever? Mercury's pretty proud of being able to run the 87 ping, correct? The 87 octane. Mercury says that you can run it. I would run 87. I wouldn't have any problem running 87, but I'm using it. You know what I'm saying? If you're not using it, you're gonna want to run a higher, more quality style fuel. The thing about the companies giving you like 300-hour, no maintenance, no anything, that should be like that just shouldn't happen in today's world. I don't care how good you build it, you should make them, I feel, in the industry, that these leaders should be like, every 100 hours I want you to service it. It's not going to be bad if you have to service it every 100, 150 hours. That's like, in some places that's yearly. Up here, they don't put 100 hours on a year. They put probably 50, 75. But I understand, but on offshore stuff, that's probably where they're basing it off of. They don't want to have you servicing it every 100 hours when you're out ocean cruising for days on end. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking that's what their thought process is. But so just label it freshwater every 100 hours, offshore every 300 hours or something like that. When you give a consumer 300 hours of zero maintenance, they literally are thinking it's 300 full hours. I don't have to do anything. No gear oil change, no filters, no nothing. Just same gas for 300 hours. I haven't used it. I only used it 1 hour for 7 years. And it doesn't run today. But I'm still inside 300 hours. Industry, that's how they think. That's what's going on up here. Hey, yeah. It's just not working, all right? Don't even do that. Just be consistent with your maintenance and your problems will be way less. We have people email us asking us all the time, how do I do this? How do I winterize this? How do I treat my motor? How do I take care of my motor? How to take it to a service shop, take it to a dealer and let them do it. I'm not going to give out that style of free information for you to go take from your local service shop so you can do it. I'm just not going to do that, guys. I'm feeding you as much information as I can right now. My goal is not to infringe on service shops or dealers or things like that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to say fix it like this. We could do videos all day long on how to fix this, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm just not going to do that because I'm a believer that in service shops and in the industry itself needs good service shops and service shops that'll stay consistent with what they're doing. But we need, as a consumer, as the owner of the boat, it's not a car, it's not a truck, it's not a UTV, it's not a fucking snowmobile, it's not a fucking jet ski, it's a boat. And there's boat fucking bylaws. And I don't give a shit. I've had these boat bylaws pounded into my head since I started. And maintenance is always number one. Consistency with that maintenance is always right up there. Making sure that I told Jordan, you need to have a budget bucket, a boat budget bucket. Like you should have to borrow from yourself to go take your boat out. I'm going boating, I'm taking $10, I'm throwing it in my budget bucket. Because when it breaks, because it's gonna break, because it's a boat, it's a motor, you float on water, you can't see what's below you. No, your depth finder's not keeping up with you. No, it's not. You're still gonna hit bottom. You're still gonna crash. You're still gonna wreck shit. Things are gonna break. So that's the biggest thing about it. I think a lot of people don't want to do their consistent maintenance because they don't want to shell out $300 to $400 or $500 and be on that. 300 is easier to swallow than 3,000. That's what we say. 500 is easier than 5,000 and 1,000 is cheaper than 10 grand. Just shell the money and stay in maintenance and stay consistent and you'll be fine. Fuel, spark, we talked about spark. When spark goes down, it's a very rare consistency. I mean, it's a very rare issue with the outboard, and if it does fail, you're just douching your cylinder hole with fuel and it's going out the exhaust, and yeah, it's not going to be an issue in my eyes. Oil, back in the two-stroke days, was oil an issue? I very rarely saw oil issues, even in the EFIs and even in the, I mean, there's a ton of people that are going to probably say that, no, oil was a big problem. I mean, we were having oil problems. Were you? I mean, I've seen every outboard blown up from this brand all the way to this brand and multiple times, and I think I could probably declare 10 total that failed from oil. I could declare 5,000 to fucking fuel. So, I mean, oil's not an issue. It's really not. I mean, you're going to have an occasional issue with a check valve or something stupid going on. Their oilers are almost all bulletproof. The only one I wouldn't agree with is the VRO, the very risky oiler. It's the only one I wouldn't agree with. But even them back in the day, I don't think I mean, they did die from some oil issues, but they weren't terrible that way. It was fuel. Fuel was always an issue. You got to think of it this way. So if you take a high-speed jet, if you've never had a high-speed jet out in your hand, it's basically a brass screw-in plug that's got a hole in it that's set for the flow of fuel, the air mixture, at wide open. And you got to think, if you can plug one of them, which is a pretty big hole, compared to an injector, which Gordon and I have witnessed on my injector cleaner, when you get an injector on there that's not flowing correctly or pulsing correctly, and you get that cone that's supposed to be like this. This is my cylinder hole. Let's say we got a cone coming at you like this of spray. Well, imagine what happens when you got this, and we need to have this. And the runnability on some of the new 4-strokes probably isn't as bad on top end as it is at idle with this, but you got to imagine what's going on. So you think of the Opti at 6,000 RPMs that needs a great, beautiful cone fan like this, and it's doing this every once in a while. You're running out of fuel and you still got spark, and I mean, you got a little fuel in there, so not enough fuel to cool the spark, and boom, you got detonation. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if you are to maintain these motors and you are to treat this fuel and you are consistently with it, I don't think you're gonna have problems with it. But I think is the least amount of consistency you have with treating your fuel, with maintaining and winterizing, with summerizing, with just normal maintenance through the season, whether it's filters, whether it's just, all right, I didn't use that for 4 months, let's just get the gas out of there. Run it in your four-wheeler. Just go put it in your four-wheeler as long as it's not mixed. Just, I don't care what you put it in. Put it in your snowblower. I mean, you can't take the snowblower gas that you had in the fucking shed for 4 years and pour it into your outboard and think you're gonna have a great day fishing. It's not gonna happen. That's your number one variable to the cycle. They need 3 things to stay alive: air, fuel, spark. Those 3 things. And when one of these isn't on the line, you're gonna have a bad day. So that's the consistency of an outboard. So that's about it, Jordan. I mean, I'm just telling you right from the front that fuel is the number one death to an outboard. Fuel. We did mention a loose nut behind the wheel, but that's in a whole other subject. We won't get into that one. But I personally, like I said, I personally think that fuel is definitely the number one. I think if you ask any of the guys here, and any of you techs that are out there that are watching, if you are watching, comment on it too. I mean, if you agree, if you disagree, and you got some stuff to say, we want to hear it. This should be a great video for people just to lay down for the consumer themselves, just to listen and see the different types of things that go on in the industry when it comes to fuel and spark and air. I mean, it's just what happens, and those are the rules. Those are the rules. So, fuel, number one problem. Jordan?
Yeah, I got a little.
I'm ready.
A little thing here. So in the car world, the new hot metric that gets tossed around, and
we're not in cars.
I don't know.
We just talked about this.
Hear me out.
Why do you bring cars into my marine world?
I know more about cars than I do the marine world.
Okay, good.
So the new hot metric that gets thrown around and it's in commercials is like this low cost of ownership. You can get a Toyota Camry, $22,000, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Super low cost of ownership. And a little cheat that the auto industry has been doing over the years is you went from 3,000 mile oil changes to 5,000, and now they're 10,000 mile oil changes.
Mm-hmm.
So you've essentially cut the amount of money, the cost of ownership from just oil changes down significantly.
Yeah.
But everyone knows you should not probably run 10,000 miles on an oil change.
Mm-hmm.
Is the outboard world, the marine world, starting to play that game with these 300-hour no service? Because doesn't the underboard have some crazy?
I don't even care about that thing.
Yeah.
That's not even an outboard in my
some
world.
Crazy.
That's
don't
not
have
even
to
an
service
outboard.
it for $500.
Well, you don't want to take the bucket apart.
Yeah.
You take the fucking bucket apart. You can't take a cowling apart. You got to take 37 screws out.
Yeah. So
that's not even an outboard.
The marine world starting to do things like that?
I think they are just.
Service?
I think they are just to grasp consumers. You know what I'm saying? And at the same rate, I feel that they're putting themselves in a different position. I mean, if you're going to hold a 300-hour service to 300 hours, in my thinking of it, if I was in a round table and I was at an outboard company and they threw a 300 no service, still under warranty process to me, I would say, no, stop. If you're going to do that, you need them to maintain their gear oil, their fuel filters, such and such and such. Now, when you're saying no service, I mean, maybe you're just saying you don't got to clean your injectors, you don't got to do anything with this, that, and the other. Okay, but you can't give a consumer 300 hours. What do you do with your car? You have one car, Jordan. I'm just gonna make a point. You have one car.
Yep.
It's 8 a.m. What are you doing? You're driving that car.
Yep.
Driving it wherever the hell you're driving it. Parking it, right? Starting it and driving it.
Yep.
7 days a week?
Yep.
6 days a week, even?
Yep.
You got a boat. The car overrules the boat. You're
Yep.
going to work.
Yep.
Dealing with your family.
Yep.
Dealing with other things that are going on. Right? The list can go on and on. So how many times does the boat get started?
Once a week, if you're lucky, probably. For
Thank
a lot
you.
of people.
Right. And you're going to use that boat 2 hours, 3 hours, 4, 5 at the most, right?
Yep.
And out of that time, you're not driving it the whole time. Out of your 10-hour work day, 7 of it is working, 2 of it is driving. And while you're driving that car, you start it, vroom, right? Bleh, 500 RPMs. You get into it. What happens now?
Cruise control.
What happens now? What are we doing? We're shifting gears. At what time did it ever reach 6,000 RPMs for 4 miles or 3 miles? Did it? No. Thank you. That's my point. You get in your boat once a week, maybe. You get in it, you want to enjoy it, you idle it, you have a mid-range, and you have wide open. There's nothing in between. There's 3 speeds in fucking boats. Bing, 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 and that is it. Maintain your equipment is what I'm saying, right? Just because it says 300 fucking hours before an oil change the fucking oil at 150 hours. Just do that, because it's just gonna be better for what you're doing. It's not. And they're doing that to appease the consumer, to try to grasp them and pull them in for sales.
It's a marketing department.
It's 100% marketing department overruling the engineering. I guarantee you the engineering is proud of what they do, but when that fucking shit comes down and they're like, oh, 400 hours, they're like, okay, yeah, our shit's gonna make it, but don't you think we should probably just be like, we should do it this way? And literally them making it so it's self-serviceable, that's another issue, I think. I mean, I don't care that people self-service their stuff, but 8 out of 9 problems that come in because of this or this or this is because, can you believe I did it myself charge? Or it comes in a box. It started and never finished, you know what I mean? That self-servicing 300 plus hour no service is why some companies are dealing with extra warranty issues. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're overlapping. Now, if you gotta think 300 hours, right? COVID, I'm sorry to go back to it, but COVID's not 2019, 2020, right? 300 hours. Up here you get 50, maybe 75, right? So let's do 75, 150, right? I'm not even there yet, and it's 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, going into 23, I'm probably just starting to get 300 hours on it, and I haven't even fucking serviced it yet. 19 to 23, and I haven't even fucking serviced it yet. Do you see what I'm saying here? If you're not using it a bunch and that fuel is in there and that fuel is getting worse, they say 30 days in a confined small area. 30 days, the fuel quality goes to shit nowadays. In the 80s, you could go 60, 80 days. 30 days, and it's probably less than that if I test it now. I could test it in a vial over there and set it, and we could do a test on it and see how many days before it starts to turn to goo. We've literally had it change to liquid in here in 24 hours, just from sitting in the elements in a confined little small thing. So you gotta think an injector, right? A carburetor bowl, right? Well, that's 30 days, it's gonna start to do some funky shit. Inside your fuel lines, exposed to the sun, laying in there, not being moved or used. You're saying you're using it once a week. And let's say you're doing that on, so let's take somebody that's swamped and he's using it once every 3 weeks, right? If it's me, I'm going boating, I'm not even filling my gas tank. I'm using a half a tank. And then when I get off the water, I'm putting more gas in it, running my additives, putting it back. So I know my additives are in there. I got fresh gas in there. I'm ready to rock and roll for a couple weeks. I'm gonna get back in it, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna add gas back to it, I'm putting my additives in it continuously. That's just kind of a thing. I think you'll just have more longevity out of basic fuel problems. And filters and additives. Like I said, I can't say enough about additives. I was never an additive guy until we went to the fuel injection curve thing. And once we get, it's a spit inside of an injector if there's any fuel in the injector, but it's in the rail. It's sitting there, you know. So, and that's a whole other thing we talked about, the fuel lines breaking down. They're talking about some companies are using some plastics inside their fueling system. I think they're gonna see problems down the road. Now, don't tell me they didn't do their testing on that stuff, but you can only test for so long, right? You can't test for 7 years on a piece of plastic hoping that it's gonna survive fuel. I mean, we get boats that sit for 5 or 6 years and come in here. What do you,
Do the Japanese brands test in Japan with Japan's standard of fuel?
I would say that Japanese companies are testing with everything.
Yeah.
I would say they're testing America, they're testing Europe, you know what I mean? They're testing all over, I would think. And that's why I think some of their stuff is built differently, because they've seen some flaws in certain products that are like, well, that's not going to work. So we need to change that up. So, yeah. That's it. What do you think?
Good.
Are you good with this?
Yep.
Did I lay it out good for you?
Yeah.
All right, good. I hope the consumer thinks so. Hope all of our viewers did. That's what I got. Merch, got right over here somewhere. Cool. Just click on whatever he's got going on here. It looks like a fucking Wheel of Fortune around me. Just click on something. Make sure you subscribe up, because we're getting close to 40K. Getting close to 40K. Make sure you're doing over that. Get me over 40K. I'll be a happy guy. We're gonna do some serious giveaways at 40K. We're gonna do some stuff at 40K. So get me to 40K, and so share it to everybody you know. Share it to grandma, grandpa, wife, ex-girlfriend from high school. Make sure she gets on there. Maybe your son or daughter, if they don't mind a little bit of beeping, because I think Jordan's been slacking a little bit on some beeps. A couple of them have slipped. I mean, Jordan's been tired though.
Yeah.
Jordan had yet another child. Congratulations.
Yep.
2 claps. He got a boy. Jordan got his boy. He's got 2 girls and a boy now. He's kicking ass, taking down names, so he's been real busy. But he's here today.
Yep.
Here today to produce some stuff for you, the people. So that's what we're doing. That's what I got. Are we good?
Yep.
Let's go home. Should we go home?
Yep.
Let's go home. All right. As always, comment, subscribe, and click notification bell to witness the madness. Oh, before I leave, comment what you want to hear next about this type of stuff, right, Jordan?
Yeah.
If you got anything else in the industry you want to hear about when it comes to motors, electronics, batteries, how to maintain this, how to maintain that, I will definitely go into that. But I'm always going to refer back to service shops. Get to your service shop, get to your local service shop, and let them look at it and see what they think. If you don't have one you trust or whatever, I get it. But at the end of the day, you can just take it in and have somebody look at it, and then maybe even you can take it. And if you're gonna take it in, let them diagnose it, and then be like, well, I don't want to do the work, expect to pay for it, because they're not free. I mean, they're just simply not free. They got lights to pay for, they've got insurance to pay for, they've got everything in the world to pay for, trust me, on top of dealing with everything like that. So that's it. That's all I got. All right? Good. As always, comment, subscribe, and click notification bell to witness the madness that I call speed, money, no brakes. I'm out. See ya!